Welcome back. We are at CSU Monterey Bay Oaks course this time. This is a 20-hole course, has a mix of some par 4s and par 3s. First hole, 650 feet, straight ahead, back in those trees. First shot, you just gotta crush it as far as you can out in the opening, and then worry about the second one after your first one. Pull a little bit, that should be fine. Only out of bounds, you have a parking lot on the right, but that's way right, and then you have a road up on the left. Other than that, it's just open. Approach shot is a little tricky. Basket is through those trees, about 35 feet past that central tree. You do have OB right if you pull it, and OB left. This pull is a little concerning, the power pull. I'm gonna throw something stable out to the right, let it fade in. Try to push past those trees and come in behind it. Yeah, should have thrown a little flatter. I just want to make sure it get back to the left, so I threw it on a little bit too much hyzer. See some white on my face. That's from sunscreen that I've not a great job of rubbing in. A couple things I'm trying to work on today with my form. One is trying to rotate my shoulders more versus reaching back far. I was working a little field work yesterday and I was adding about 20, 30 feet of distance. So rotate my shoulders, 1. 2 is finish down and through the shot. Try to keep that nose down. And then 3 is try to keep my head neutral when I'm coming through. I have a tendency when I'm pulling through, as I'm pulling through, I turn my head early to see where it wants to go versus just keeping it neutral. So this is a center tree. I was trying to push behind it instead I ended up in front of it. So I threw too much of a hyzer. 40. Good height, just pulled it.
Oh, you know how the pedals?
Hole 2, par 3, 266 feet. Oaks is a pretty challenging course. So you have good distance and you have some tight fairways. This is definitely one of the ones that you want to get. The first 2 holes are 2 of the easier ones out here. So if you can get a couple birdies there, that's good. I'm gonna try backhand, straight with the slight finish. Pretty good, I bet like 20 feet. Better result than I thought. I'll take it. Hole 3 says 358. Little uphill, bend to the right. Plays a little longer than 358. Walk to the left and you should be able to see the basket from the, if you walk 20 or 30 steps left of the tee. Shot, something straight that finishes to the right. You don't want to overdo it too much because there's trees right of the basket, but if you leave it out too far left, you're gonna have a tough blind approach. So getting the angle right is key. I'm gonna try to throw an understable driver left and have it finish right. Fuck me, dude. So this is the view up to the basket. These are those trees you want to avoid. If you go right at all, ending up right over here in this junk makes for a tough upshot. But also if you go back over there, it's tough because then you have that big bush to deal with. Trying to hit this gap is the key. Dang, that was a bummer. Very close to being a great shot. My disc ended there. You can see the basket up over there and it just nicked the top of this bush. It was heading right down this alley to get back to the basket and nicked it and then dropped dead. Berg time. Gotta give it a run. Down. Just over the top of it. Not a bad effort. This is a course where you definitely got to be considerate of the surroundings. 1, there is some elevation. 2, there's wind typically. Right now it's pretty calm. Hopefully it stays like that because these are pretty ripe scoring conditions for this course. And then 3, there's a lot of foliage and bushes and trees in and around the basket. So like that one I knew I could run because there was a tree directly behind the basket on the left. So if I missed, I was gonna hit that tree. So yeah, good course out here. Oaks, recommend it. Hole 4, par 4, very challenging hole. Pin location, I've only seen it ever in the back. 714 feet. You have this narrow chute. This grove of trees right in front of you. You do not want to end up in those. You want to finish ideally to the left of those. I'm going to try to throw something stable at these trees and finish left. You got to throw at least, there's trees out on the left, you got to push past, throw about 320 to get past them. That should be pretty perfect. All right, so right now I'm about 100 feet off the tee. And so you can see this tree over on the left-hand side. It can kind of block you out. And then you have the ones middle here that also block you out. So you either want to throw something that's nice and narrow through this gap, it's about 300, or you can push past 320 to get past this tree into that opening. Okay, I had a great drive. Still 390 to the basket. You can see the basket down that narrow chute. Normally I just play something short of these trees and then come in with a hyzer or a straight shot based on the angle I have. If you do that, make sure you end up like 20, 30, 40 feet short of the tree line, because if you're too close to the tree line, then now you can't throw anything over. So normally I would do that, but I'm feeling a little risky today, so I'm gonna give it a go. I'm about 400 feet to the basket. I'm gonna try to flex something, start it right of the basket, and then finish the left. Too high, but it should be safe right in the opening. That's a good miss. I just threw it a little too high, so it didn't have that flex, but that's a great shot, good miss. So this is right about the ideal landing area since you have all this space here. You just, again, don't want to push too close to those trees, and you can see the basket back there. If you're coming in here, I like to finish a little bit more left, because then you have a view of the basket. If you finish too far right over here, now you don't have a view of the basket. Ended up in a great spot. My Voya Toro says 53 feet from the basket. I've never been here. In two, I always play short. I've actually rarely see anybody back here, because both those shots were probably, 360, 370, and you can't throw them super low because there's stuff to clear. So very good shots. Hopefully we can cash in with the birdie putt. Dang it. I threw it higher than I would like because I felt some significant downwind. I should have probably thrown it harder rather than higher though. Oh my gosh. That's just lazy. That's terrible. It was a little wind in the face, but I just didn't throw the disc. If you're coming to this green, you want to miss right. So this is the landing area you want to miss, and left you got all this junk over there. So long and right, because you're short and right, then you're there. Hole 5, up in the peak there. It says 310 feet, plays longer since you got such the elevation change. You do not want to miss left here. You don't want to miss short here. You want to miss right. Dang. I thought that was gonna be really good when it released my hand. We are downwind, it just never came back to the left. Another cool thing about this course is these little pathways. This is if you end up short left. So if you end up short left or too far left, you're gonna be down over there. And with the basket up on that hill, it just makes for a tricky shot. And if you end up short, you end up in that little area, which leaves you with a blind look up to the basket. And if it's windy, could make for a very interesting shot. So if you miss right. Windy up here on the top of this hill. Definitely picked up. Gotta give it a go though. Probably looking 35 feet. There we go. Grab one back. Hole 6 says 274 foot par 3. I gunned it from the front a couple times, said 282. Looks pretty open and easy. However, there's OB all along the right side. Basket high. If you're basket high to the right, probably about 12 feet to the right of the basket is out of bounds. It comes in an angle like this. So if you go just to the right of the basket past it, you're probably out of bounds. If you go right of the basket early, you're gonna be out of bounds. So play, pick your poison, throw a putter at mid-range straight at it. You can throw a hyzer over the OB, which is a little risky because it goes out over the OB early. Or you can throw a forehand and try to have it either dig or skip right there. And then if you're at the right distance, you have a tap in for par if you go out of bounds. I'm gonna try mid-range, X, not too hard. Just try to throw it straight. Woo! Perfect. Ideal. So this is how tight the OB is. This is the line right here. And so this is, right now I'm basket high. So basket high, yeah, about 12 feet. So if you miss left. Problem with missing left is you have a death putt. Make it. 2. If you do this, you suck. least trashed on a disc golf course. I should have mentioned this last hole, but there's a couple holes that go around this massive sand pit. And the entire time you're near the sand pit, the rim, the top rim, has an OB line around the top. So last hole's affected, this hole, and then 2 holes later, you're affected by it. So just know the sand pit is right at the top. So if it all goes down or it's on the wall of the sand pit, that's OB. Hole 7, 564 feet. Very unique hole. You have the sand pit on the right, you got to carry. The more right you go, the bigger the carry. If you go pretty far right, I think it gets out to about 400 carry. The more left you go, the shorter, but obviously you got more stuff to deal with the trees. The basket is up on the hill. You can actually see it out in the distance. So you want to try to throw your drive 350 to 400 off the tee, have it finish so you can see the basket. Not too far right, not too far left, because otherwise you're going to get cut out and have to throw something over the trees, which is dicey. I'm throwing stable driver, straight, little flex. That's too far right. They cleared everything, but now I'm gonna have a tougher angle into the green. So if you go out of bounds, again, out of bounds is just on the other side of the rope. It goes along the edge, drop zone here. And as you see the basket up on the hill, if you go too far left, those trees on the left cut you out. If you go too far right, the trees out on the right cut you out. So you wanna finish something, again, more in line with the basket. If you miss, maybe a little more left. So you have it opening up to the basket. Crushed my drive, probably about 420. The problem is now I'm too far right and cut out by these trees. The basket is back in there. Forehand hyzer, backhand hyzer. I'm gonna try the backhand hyzer. Fuck. Woo! Obviously got lucky. Turned a little too inside. I don't have a Firebird type disc in my bag, and this is the exact shot I think I need one for. But I think I'm okay, probably circle 1, right side of circle 1. So that's looking back at the tee pad, drop zone. I was over there. This is where you want to be. This is up the chute. You gotta be careful when you're throwing up here about the height. You either want to go over the top or something straight through this gap. Ended up being very fortunate to push through because I nicked the corner of that tree. Ended up in a great spot. Gobble, gobble. It's actually hole 8 says got in at about 230, 220, but super challenging hole. Very tight. This is a hole that is as easy to birdie as it is bogey. If you can hit that gap straight at the basket and have it push forward, have a circle 1 look, hit anything early, you're in jail, especially with how high the grass is. Hold it, got lucky. Definitely take that. Such a cool hole. This actually used to be called the piano hole. Or I guess it's still called the piano hole. Somebody brought a piano out here, I guess, and they like built it between some trunks. I'm not sure which set of trunks, but supposedly there was a piano that was back here that was actually playable for a bit, obviously until the elements destroyed it. But if you ever heard, oh, the piano hole at CSU Monterey Bay Oaks, that's this hole, because there was a little piano off the fairway built into some of the scenery. Off the top. Hole 9's in the deep position, which is 423 feet. It's back past those trees to the left. This outfield, this baseball field, if you go left of it, OB, and then you have out to the right, that sand pit, that's OB as well. One thing about Oaks is there's a lot of wind that often you can't feel. We're kind of protected here, but if you walk out, you can definitely feel some wind. It's coming at us and to the left. So I'm gonna try to throw a distance driver on a little hyzer, have it flex, and then get back to the basket. Push. Got lucky for it to fall down. I was very, very close, just throwing a little too much hyzer. It just panned up a little bit more, would have went over that cypress tree and then finished back to the left by the basket. So this is walking up to the basket, and that's a cypress tree that I landed on top of after hitting the pine tree. Another thing to note is this cypress tree over here to the left of the basket just absolutely eats disc, so you don't want to finish too far left. Ended up in a tricky spot directly behind this tree with the low limbs hanging. We try a little forehand berg, floated in through this gap. Another thing to consider when you guys are out here is this stuff, I call it grabby grass. It does not allow the disc to skip or go very far. And so you see it short of the basket, so I'm going to try to land it at the base of the basket because it's not at the base of the basket. The issue is though it's all sand long, like dirt road long. So if I throw it too long, it's just gonna skip away. So be very particular about where you're landing the disc when you're out here based on the ground. It was poor. I didn't twist it enough. My upshifts have been really good recently too. I think I was a little bit more concerned about finding that gap between those branches than finishing the shot. This wasn't a confident shot. Now looking at probably 35 feet. Hole 10, par 3. Straight ahead through the bushes. Forehand option if you want, or backhand hyzer. It does open up around the basket. I'm gonna try to throw a onyx on a straight line to the right of the basket, have it finish to the right, left. The wind has picked up a little bit here. It is crosswind. So I gotta probably start a little bit more right. We'll see. I thought I was parked when I released it, but didn't have the height to come back the distance I wanted to come back. Ended up in a great spot. This hole definitely plays longer than I think it's 305 because you have to clear the trees. Maybe it feels that way. Gobble, gobble.